Hi, I'm Kaya.
And I'm Joanna.
And this is Starlit Citadel Reviews.
Pocket Imperium is a bite-sized 4X game from David J. Mortimer and Luda Creations.
In Pocket Imperium, players control spacefaring races that compete to expand, explore, exterminate, and exploit their way to victory. It's playable by 2 to 4 people in 45 minutes.
Players begin Pocket Imperium by taking 12 ships in their color and 3 command cards, one each of Expand, Explore, and Exterminate. The Tri-Prime sector tile is placed on the table, and the other 6 sector tiles are randomly placed around it. The victory point tiles go on the table, and a single victory point tile is placed on the back of the box as a round tracker.
A starting player is chosen, and the players take turns placing 2 ships each on an unoccupied Level 1 system. Levels are indicated with white dots. In reverse order, they then choose a second Level 1 system each. Then the game begins.
Each round of Pocket Imperium has 3 phases: Plan, Execute, and Exploit. During the Plan phase, each player chooses the order that they will take their command actions and places the cards in a face-down row in front of them from left to right.
In the next phase, the players execute their plan. Everyone turns their leftmost card face up. The revealed commands are then performed in the following order: Expand, Explore, Exterminate. If 2 players have chosen the same command, they execute them in player order.
The number of actions a player can perform is based on the choices of their neighbors. So if neither of a player's neighbors has chosen the same command as them, then the player gets 3 actions. If one of that player's neighbors has chosen the same command as them, they get 2. If both of their neighbors have chosen the same command as they did, they only get 1 action. A player can choose to not perform 1 or more of their actions.
The Expand command lets you place 1 ship on the board per action. These ships must be added to systems you already occupy, and they can be spread between multiple systems.
The Explore command lets you move 1 fleet of ships per action. All ships on a single hex can move as a fleet for a distance of up to 2 hexes. Ships may be added to the fleet as it moves past or left behind. A fleet cannot move through a hex occupied by another player and must stop immediately if it enters Tri-Prime. Each ship can participate in 1 fleet action per round.
The Exterminate command lets you invade 1 system per action. To invade, a player moves 1 or more fleets into a single adjacent system hex. If another player's ships are in that space, both players remove a number of ships equal to the size of the smallest fleet in that hex. You cannot invade a hex that doesn't contain a system, and systems are marked with a planet. Each ship can participate in 1 invasion per round.
Once each player has completed their first command, all players simultaneously reveal their second command cards and execute them in order. After the second command is finished for every player, everyone reveals and executes their third command card.
During the Exploit phase, players must sustain their ships. An empty hex can support 1 ship. A Level 1 system can support 2 ships, a Level 2 system can support 3 ships, and Tri-Prime can support 4 ships. Any unsupported ships are removed.
Next, players score the systems they control. The first player chooses 1 sector tile, and every player who controls systems on that tile scores points equal to each system's level. Then, the next player chooses another sector tile to score. It cannot have been previously chosen by another player and must be occupied. After every player has chosen a tile or no occupied systems remain, the player who controls Tri-Prime chooses a single tile to rescore. This cannot be the tile that they chose earlier in the round.
If a player ended the round with no ships, then they can add 2 to an unoccupied hex at the edge of the board. The first player token is passed clockwise, and a new round begins. The game ends after 6 rounds for a 2 to 3 player game, and after 8 rounds for a 4-player game. At the end of the very last round, all 7 sector tiles are rescored, with Tri-Prime being worth 3 points rather than allowing you to rescore a tile. The player with the most points wins.
So Pocket Imperium is a really nice little game, and one of the things that you're going to notice as soon as you open the box is component quality, which is a nice surprise given the size of this game and the lightness of this game. So the pieces are wood, all of the different players have a different shape to their ships, which is really cool. There's some vibrant color going on here, which is also really nice. Another thing that I really like about this game is the fact that the interaction is going to be quite intense. The board is small, so you're forced to interact with all the other players at the table quite a bit. There's going to be a lot of extermination going on here and a lot of moving around and having to negotiate around other players. This is not going to be a game where you sort of sit in your corner and build up whatever empire you think you're going to build up in this game. This is a game where you're going to be forced interaction with all those other players at the table, which is great. Also, I really like the amount of variability that's presented in the box here. So not only do you have sort of the one base game, which is really strong, you also have different ways that you can set up your galaxy, which you're playing in. You can turn the tiles over and get a tougher game. So you've got things like black holes that get inserted into the game. You've got planets that eat your ships. You've got all that kind of stuff going on, which adds interest and variability. So on the negative side for this game is the fact that though this is called a 4X game and you are piloting ships around in a galaxy and there's planets on the table, really the theme doesn't matter all that much. You're not really going to see any overlap between the theme and the mechanics. The theme is just sort of there to give an explanation for the movements that you're taking, but really you're moving pieces around on a board and it could be any theme. So really this is about the mechanics, not really about the theme.
Now, there is one potential drawback of that tighter board that Joanna mentioned that does come through a little bit in the two-player game, and that is the enormous centrality and importance of Tri Prime. This is a hugely powerful planet. Not only does it allow you to greatly improve your scoring at the end of the round, but it also is the only place where you can keep a stack of 4 ships, and from there you can attack almost anywhere on the board. It's very powerful and it's obviously meant to be so, but I find that in a two-player game, it can suck focus away from pretty much everything else. You often kind of end up in like a back and forth slugging match over this one big planet, and it means that players don't spread out as much as they could, they don't exploit other strategies of expansion and of point collection, and it doesn't quite showcase the game's greatest strengths, which is unfortunate. Now that said, this game absolutely shines at 3 or 4 players. Like Joanna, I feel that the theme is very much kind of a superficial layer that's there to illuminate the mechanics for you. It feels a little bit like the theme in Hive, where you can use it as a framework to understand why your pieces are moving the way they're moving and why things happen the way they do. But ultimately what you're playing is a very smart, very tight, abstract game. And those are rare to find that work with more than 2 players. I absolutely love the fact that I get what is effectively a challenging area control abstract that plays in a very short period of time, that requires almost no setup or rules explanation, and that works fantastically well with a larger group. One other element that I really want to sort of call out in this game is the timing element of when you choose your commands. It can make an enormous impact whether you get to, add 1 ship or 3 ships or take 1 action or 3 actions. And the fact that that's dependent on the choices that your opponents make adds a really interesting element of psychology. You're not just trying to anticipate where their ships are going to move or deal with their presence on this board that you're controlling. You're also dealing with their thinking and the choices that they're going to make, and you're trying to second guess them to make sure that you put yourself in a good position, or maybe you impede them in the choices that they're making. It's the one place where I think the psychology of 4X games really comes through. Space 4X games are so much about the politics and the anticipation of your enemies and these kind of little mind games. And this game has done a fantastic job of distilling that down into a single mechanical element. It's this really intriguing mix of largely abstract mechanics with just a little bit of the psychology and flavor of 4X, and I think it's unique and incredibly successful.
Exterminate.